people you are about to see were all caught on tape, the shootouts.
Oh my God, holy mackerel.
The heroism. And this guy, trying to make it look like the police beat him up.
There's going to be some very big embarrassment here.
Stings, setups, shootouts, and mayhem.
Down! Terry's got a gun on the seat. Get down.
All under the watchful eye of the camera. All caught on tape. A special report.
This is hard copy for Wednesday, November 4th, 1992.
Hello and welcome. I'm Barry Nolan.
And I'm Terry Murphy. Good evening. It's a product of the video age in the 90s, where sex, lies, and videotape are as common as family home movies. But there are some definite benefits to Big Brother watching over us. He catches the bad guys in action, too. Doug Bruckner has the story.
It seemed like just another day at this shopping mall in Lauderhill, Florida. It was a Friday. The place was crowded. Wait a minute. What was that? Gunshots. Better hit the dirt.
It's the cop. Oh my God, holy mackerel. That's the security. Are we all right? Are you all right?
This dramatic shootout outside a Radio Shack was captured on tape by a security camera inside the store. And at the front of the store, yet another camera records a different angle. Watch carefully. There, that was the gunman, shot down trying to make his getaway. Keep watching now as the alarms go off and shoppers start yelling for police. There, that's the guard. He too has been shot. Within seconds, the calls are going to 911.
Police emergency, can I help you? Lauderhill ball? Shooting. Hey, hold on.
As police race to the scene, panicked shoppers try to figure out what's going on.
They were heard, doo-doo, and we saw one guy was on the ground. He was shooting at the other guy.
As the uniformed guard lay wounded just outside the store, you can see customers approach him carefully, cautiously, checking to see how badly he's hurt. When police arrive, the wounded guard is rushed to the hospital. The would-be robber, he is taken to the morgue. Police would begin their investigation. They would talk to all the eyewitnesses, examine the physical evidence, and watch these videotapes to determine just what happened. By scrutinizing these tapes, by slowing them down, by stopping the action at just the right moments, police would be able to piece together the entire sequence of events at the mall that day. How the security guard had just gotten out of an armored car to pick up $40,000 in cash. How the would-be robber tried to hold up the guard as he was carrying the cash to the waiting armored car. How the gunman shot the guard, and how the wounded guard shot back as the robber tried to get away with the money. More and more, police are being helped in their fight against crime by video cameras. They're everywhere, in banks, inside police cars.
Down! Terry's got a gun on the seat. Get down.
And in stores all across America. With the help of hidden cameras, police are catching the killers, car thieves, drug dealers, even punks whose weapons are chalk and spray paint.
You're both being placed under arrest for graffiti. Would you please stand up?
In this San Bernardino, California market, 4 cameras record the chaos and panic as gunmen enter the store and customers run for their lives. 4 cameras record the terror at the end of a gun.
Lay down.
And then, as the cameras keep rolling, the owner makes a split-second decision and decides to fight back. Hundreds of miles away in Houston, a robber simply takes what he's after just by reaching into the cash register. And this robber wasn't satisfied till he took every last penny. All were caught in the act, all caught on tape. With the cameras rolling, even criminals who wear disguises don't find it so easy to slip into obscurity. Such was the case in Yuba City, California.
The suspect entered the convenience store with a shotgun, and as the clerk came out of an office behind the counter, the suspect immediately fired and killed her.
The store's security camera caught the murder suspect on tape, but a towel covered his head, obscuring his face. Still, with the help of NASA, investigators were able to zoom in on the tattoo on the suspect's right wrist, and it wasn't long before police found their man.
The suspect has pled guilty to first-degree murder, admitted use of a firearm, and now faces 30 years to life in state prison.
When you're caught on tape, you could be caught for good. Inside this grocery store in Maywood, California, the robbers know the cameras are on. They would try to beat the system. They would try to steal the videotape. The video recorder clearly records the time of the holdup, 1:30 in the afternoon. There, he's got a gun, a .45 automatic. Better do what he says. The gunman empties the cash register while his accomplices move shoppers to the back of the store. Most holdups take only a few seconds. Robbers like to get in and out fast to avoid trouble and avoid getting caught. But this holdup is different. The gunmen seem to be taking their time. 5 minutes after the holdup started, you can clearly see one of the gang casually sipping a soda. 6 minutes into the holdup, and the ringleader appears to be looking for something. He's looking for the store's video recorder. He wants that tape. As time goes by, more customers enter the store and are taken to the back, and one of the holdup men is clearly getting impatient. He wants to get out of there now. But the ringleader says they can't leave until he finds the security tape. 8 minutes have gone by now, and as the holdup man searches for the tape, he inadvertently gives a hidden security camera a perfect shot. Later, police will use it to identify him. More than 9 minutes into the holdup, the gunmen are still searching and still working up a thirst. 10 minutes since the drama began. Still more shoppers enter the store. 2 young girls. They're told to get in the back, but a few seconds later, while the gunmen aren't paying attention, they quietly sneak back out of the store. And now, 12 minutes since they first pulled their guns, the robbers are finally ready to leave. They found that videotape. Now they figure to make a clean getaway. But as they're walking out the door, they run into a cop. Officer John Hoagland has no idea of the danger he's walking into. One of the holdup men opens fire, killing the officer before he knew what hit him.
As soon as he got out of the car, they started firing at him.
The gunman sped off with the money and with the store's surveillance tape. Without that tape, they figured they were home free. But what the crooks didn't know, what they couldn't know, this store was equipped with 2 video recorders. There was a backup tape, and that tape gave police all the pictures they needed. 48 hours later, police say they were in jail. They'd been caught on tape.
That's pretty dramatic stuff. Not all the action caught on tape is criminal versus victim. Take this guy, for example. He's trying to fake a case of police assault, and the only victim is himself. That's next.
The most bizarre video in this special report on criminals caught on tape is this one. A young guy arrested for suspicion of drunk driving tried to turn it into a case of police assault, but he forgot who was watching his setup. Big Brother. Diane Diamond reports.
You get 20 minutes from now to contact an attorney, sir. If we don't get a result.
This man is under arrest. He's been brought to the police station charged with drunk driving. It's an all too common crime police deal with all the time, but this would be a case Officer Robert Crosby would never forget. Watch carefully. The suspect is about to hit himself. Some guys will do anything to beat the rap. It was a Sunday. The roads were quiet in the suburban town of Wilton, Connecticut. Officer Crosby was out on patrol when he noticed a car that was weaving and speeding. He pulled the car over. The driver appeared to be drunk.
As I approached the car and got pretty close to it, I could smell alcohol. Then when I spoke to him, I could tell he was slurring and his movement was quite slow.
Officer Crosby checked the man's license. He was Mark Cowris from the nearby town of Norwalk. He was arrested and taken to the Wilton Police Headquarters. This is where police brought Mark Cowris after his arrest. This is where all suspects are brought in to be processed. This is where they get that one phone call. Well, for some reason, Mark Cowris didn't seem to notice the cameras and all the signs on the walls warning him that everything that goes on in this room is videotaped. From the start, the man was not a complacent drunk driving suspect. Officer Crosby says he was arrogant and threatening.
Yeah, as we're driving back to the police department, he asked me if I liked my job. And I said, yeah, I do like my job. He goes, that's too bad, because you're in a lot of, well, I don't want to use the words he used, but he said I was in deep.
Officer Crosby didn't take the threat seriously until the man got to make his one phone call. He called his father, and what he told him made the police officer's jaw drop.
I want this guy arrested. I want him busted and kicked out of the forest. Sit down. Ask your father about the... Hey! I'm talking to my father, huh?
Apparently he was devising a story right there on the phone with his father to try maybe a lawsuit against the police department and myself.
Police brutality? When Officer Crosby heard what the suspect was alleging, he called in his sergeant.
Well, no, there's a superior who's going to probably kick my no, you're going to come down here and pick me up. I want assault charges. I want this guy kicked out of this forest. I want this guy busted.
And then Mark Cowris did something no one expected. He started hitting himself.
As he was walking back to the chair, he hit himself in the face one time, and it kind of made him almost fall over.
But Mark Cowris didn't hit himself just once. 2 minutes later, he did it again. And again, just seconds later, after making sure no one was watching. In case you didn't catch that, the man punched himself right in the nose, laying the groundwork for police brutality charges. He promised Officer Crosby he would get revenge.
Right now, we're burying you guys shredded. Not to go yet, but there's going to be some very big embarrassment here.
A few days later, Mark Cowris was convicted of drunk driving, and then police say he made good on his threats against the Wilton Police Department. They say he filed suit, charging Officer Crosby had beaten him.
I was in court for a different reason, and the prosecutor came up to me and he said, geez, there was a lawsuit against you on that you abused this, this prisoner.
Well, it didn't take long for the Wilton Police Department to pull out their videotape from the night Mark Cowris was arrested. Police say they called in his lawyer and played it for him. They showed how he slapped himself, then punched himself, and then punched himself again.
With the video in hand, it was hard for his attorney to say the police assaulted him when you could see he did it himself. And then when his attorney saw that, he said, well, I think we better drop the case.
The cops gave Mark Cowris a break. They did not file more charges against him. And the Wilton Police Department's video surveillance system saved Officer Crosby's job. Now he has just one piece of advice for suspects brought into his police station. Read the sign that says, these rooms are under audio-visual observation. Better believe it.
Now we're burying you guys shredded. Not to go yet, but there's going to be some very big embarrassment here.
Good example of a guy who's his own worst enemy.
If you have tapes for our Caught on Tape segments, send them to Caught on Tape, Paramount Pictures, 5555 Melrose Avenue, Studios E&G, Hollywood, California, or call Dan Hanks at area code 213-956-1759.
Everyone, don't move! This is a robbery! Move without doing it! Open that door! Look out! Open it! Now! Look out! Look out! Get a gun! Stop! Please!
It was a gut-level display of incredible heroism. One man's decision to face the angel of death head-on and win. The man was a cop, and the entire sequence of events was caught on tape.
When he fired his first round, what was going through my mind was I'm dead. There's no way I'm going to live through this.
Police officer Paul Wing did live through it all right, and police brass were so impressed they turned his amazing story into a movie, a police training video other cops could learn from.
I think his training is what saved his life.
It happened at a bank in Buena Park, California. Officer Wing was off duty, just a regular customer waiting in line. Then all of a sudden, a man burst in. He was wearing a ski mask, and the man was carrying a gun.
My first instinct was that it was a joke, and then I realized it wasn't. And suddenly he was shooting up in the air and yelling at us that he was serious, that it was a robbery.
At first, Officer Wing did not want to confront the robber. Too dangerous, he thought. Somebody might get hurt. But then the gunman did something that made Officer Wing change his mind. Fast.
When he dropped his gun down towards the line of tellers, I thought that he was going to shoot a teller. So I pulled my gun out and shot him.
No one could have predicted what happened next or how it would turn out. The cop's shot rang out, but the bank robber was still standing. Now, the robber had Officer Wing in his sights, and the officer's gun was jammed.
What was going through my mind was I'm dead. There's no way I'm going to live through this.
Officer Wing hit the deck. He rolled across the bank floor, anything to keep from being shot.
The robber was going around shooting like this, and he'd shoot like that, trying to follow the officer. He started moving around the floor just to get away from the bullets being fired at him.
He's still coming towards me shooting, and I don't know exactly how many, and he got close enough to where I had the opportunity to grab his gun.
Officer Wing and the gunman were locked in a bizarre dance of death, spinning, turning, twisting, as horrified bank customers ducked for cover.
Once I got a hold of the gun barrel, there was no doubt in my mind that he was not going to shoot me. We wrestled over it, and apparently he hit me in the head several times.
Suddenly, the struggle turned in Officer Wing's favor. He got control of the weapon, the gun in his hands now, wresting it from the robber. But then the would-be killer took off. He ran out to the bank parking lot, Officer Wing taking off after him. The chase didn't last long.
I yelled at him that I had one bullet left, and I was going to shoot him if he didn't stop. About the same time, he crossed over a cement parking divider and stumbled on it. He landed on the ground and never got up again.
Officer Wing did not have to fire again. It turned out that his very first shot, the one he fired before his gun jammed, had found its mark and waited to take its toll. The bullet lodged in the bank robber's chest ended his life in the parking lot. When police unmasked the gunman, they found it was Stephen Smallwood. They'd been looking for him. He'd robbed many times before. In fact, police say he'd already held up this bank twice. But it wasn't until police looked at the bank's security tape that they realized the full extent of Officer Paul Wing's heroism. The bank's camera captured every step of his dramatic struggle, frame by frame. Frame number 1, Officer Wing takes aim. Frame 2, Officer Wing takes his shot. Frame 3, you can see the blast coming out of the officer's gun barrel. The next few frames, Officer Wing rolls out of the holdup man's line of fire. Frame 7, Officer Wing reaches for the suspect's gun. They begin their deadly duel. Customers crouch near the floor, praying they'll be able to stay out of the line of fire.
It looked heroic to see him scrambling around. He had risked his life, taken one shot, found out he couldn't take any more, and at that point, he didn't know if he was going to live anymore.
Frame 12, they've come full circle, still fighting for the gun. Frame 14, there, Officer Wing has his hand on the gun. Frame 16, look at the determination on the police officer's face. Frame 20, the gunman hits Officer Wing in the head. That may be his fatal mistake, because when he takes one hand off his gun, Officer Wing gets the advantage. Frame 22, Officer Wing is on his feet now. It looks like he's got the gun. Frame 24, the bank robber turns tail. He runs from the bank. Frame 25, Officer Wing aims and orders the robber to stop. Frame 26, the suspect keeps running. Officer Wing gives chase.
It
He's extremely lucky, and I don't think he didn't realize that until he saw the photos himself.
When police put all the pictures together and ran them in sequence, this is what it looked like. A police officer's selfless act of heroism, one that cops all over would study and learn from, thanks to the pictures that were caught on tape. You are about to witness a crime, a purse snatching. It happens every day, everywhere, but this one will be different. Keep your eyes on this man, especially his hands. They're the tools of his trade. There, he grabs the purse and starts to walk away. Now the purse snatcher is picked up by another camera. Security guards are headed to intercept him before he can get out the door. There's just one thing he can do: make a run for it. Ouch! The guard takes a direct hit, but he's not about to give up. He grabs the suspect's foot. Just like a pit bull, the security guard refuses to let go. But then it gets ugly. The purse snatcher picks up a bar stool and uses it to clobber the guard. Despite the guard's heroic battle to hold on, that chair shot is too much for him. He just has to let go. Other guards pick up the chase. How will it end? That has a lot to do with where it's happening. You see, the purse snatching took place here in Las Vegas, inside the Aladdin Hotel and Casino. It's a place where every move is caught on tape.
If you were going to do something wrong, you wouldn't want to do it in the casino.
All day and all night, specially trained security guards sit in front of banks of monitors and video recorders. With dozens of cameras, they can see anywhere on the casino floor.
When I first started in surveillance, I had a pair of binoculars, and I used to work up in the catwalk and lean over a railing and look at the game through binoculars. That same casino now has spent over $1 million in equipment.
From inside their secret control room, casino guards catch every move, from the card sharks to the roulette wheel to the dirty dealers fast enough to switch decks in plain sight.
This one here is just a blatant move to go in and reach in and steal a black check on the game of roulette here. You watch when the dealer goes to indicate the number that's hit, he'll reach over and just grab the check. There it goes. That's simple, that blatant. I mean, the guy just reaches over and just grabs a black check right out of the bank here.
Not all casino thieves are athletic young men. Keep your eye on this elderly woman. She appears to be watching a roulette game. But while everyone's got their eye on the little white ball, she's got her eyes on that stack of chips.
Here's the victim, and then, so she's already eyeballing that. You can see her hand and watch the move. Reach right in there, underneath his hand, and take the checks. Watch that stack right there. And here comes the move. There it goes, right at the top. She didn't steal from the casino, so the casino's not the victim. So if they want to prosecute, we have to get the person that she stole the chips from and convince them that we want to prosecute. Otherwise, the person is just let go or 86.
Most of the time, the victims get their chips back, but every now and then, the granny gets away with it. Now, back to our purse snatcher. He does something right away to tip off the guards monitoring the casino's surveillance cameras. He looks around, checking to see if anyone's watching.
One of the biggest things is rubbernecking. We call rubbernecking. Constantly looking around. 95% of the people I've caught, it's just, you can spot them from across the casino. They give themselves away and they don't realize it.
When the guards watching this game see him looking around, they immediately turn more cameras in his direction. They don't want to miss a thing. Meanwhile, they alert other guards on the casino floor to be ready in case there's trouble. The victim is this woman. The purse snatcher is a pro. When his target glances away for just a moment, that's all the time he needs. In the blink of an eye, he grabs the purse and starts to make what he hopes will be a clean getaway. When he realizes he's been spotted, the suspect makes a mad dash for the exit. It's either that or jail. When he drop kicks the security guard, you can tell that nothing is going to stand in his way. As we pick up the action from another angle, it's a tug-of-war between the guard and the thief. And during the struggle, the suspect drops the purse. Once he's able to wrestle free from the guard's grip, the suspect races for the door. Other guards give chase, even a casino cleaning lady who runs after him with her broom. Still, the purse snatcher gets out of the casino. Despite the mob effort to apprehend him, he gets away. But this story isn't over yet, because this purse snatching was videotaped. And when casino officials showed the tape to police, it didn't take long to identify their man. And later that day, their suspect was arrested in another casino, allegedly trying to snatch another purse. He was caught on tape. From the teenage girls who steal cassettes of their favorite pop idols, to the father who rips the tag off a toy so he can give it to his young daughter, to the woman who figures to get a big bargain by switching price tags on clothes, anywhere you go, there's always someone who wants something for nothing. Yes, shoplifters come in all shapes and sizes and all income brackets. And because the shoplifting impulse is apparently uncontrollable, the crimes themselves often seem to make no sense. For instance, here's someone you'd never expect to catch in a crime like this, stealing buttons off jackets in a department store. Her name, Felicidad Noriega. Yes, that Noriega, wife of the Panamanian bully. You remember her husband, Manuel Noriega. The pineapple-faced dictator is the reason American troops invaded Panama. Our boys spirited him back to Miami to face drug and racketeering charges. Since then, it's been reported that Noriega may have stashed away more than $300 million in secret bank accounts. Yet there she is, Mrs. Noriega, a common thief caught on tape.
They were observed cutting the buttons off, then they placed the buttons into a shopping bag, and then they attempted to leave the store. Actually walked out of the store, and that is when they were stopped.
It happened as her husband, the ex-dictator, stewed in federal prison. Now she, too, would find herself inside a jail cell. Hard copy investigator Danno Hanks describes what the store security cameras captured.
Here you see Mrs. Noriega with her friend, a woman named Rosa Busto. They appear to be shopping for clothes. And let me tell you, we're talking expensive clothes. You know, the designer stuff. Now the camera zooms in for a close-up, and the two women seem to be inspecting the buttons on an expensive jacket. Then it looks like one of the women, I think it's Mrs. Bustos, trying to remove the buttons. But you can't tell for sure until Mrs. Noriega moves the jacket out of the way. There, check it out. Clear as day, she's ripping off the buttons. And there she goes, hiding them in her bag.
A few minutes later, the officers manning the store's security cameras follow the two women to a different clothes rack.
There, she did it again. She's ripping off more buttons. Now, what is anybody going to do with all these buttons?
Using hidden cameras, security officers at the department store followed the women for 45 minutes as they browsed and as they tried on clothes. Now, it's not as if Mrs. Noriega didn't have any money. In fact, she came to the store flush with cash.
Here we can see Mrs. Noriega reach into her purse and pull out a wallet. Now look at that wad of bills. It looks like $100 bills. And she's handing them to another woman. Well, that other woman turned out to be her daughter, and she wasn't prosecuted for shoplifting.
After handing her daughter the money, Mrs. Noriega gets back to the business at hand. And get a load of that rock on Miss Busto's finger. We can't say for sure if that diamond is real or fake, but fashion experts tell us stealing all those designer buttons could have only one purpose: to sew onto cheap outfits so they'll look expensive.
In this angle, the camera clearly shows Mrs. Noriega holding several gold buttons in her hand, and she seems to be admiring them. And then, just like a magician, now you see them, now you don't. She's hidden them inside her bag.
By the time they were finished, Mrs. Noriega and her friend had taken 27 buttons, enough for a new wardrobe. But when store security guards stopped the women, Mrs. Noriega denied doing anything wrong. Then they showed her the tape. A few weeks later, she was found guilty. Mrs. Noriega was ordered to perform 100 hours of community service and to pay the store $1,321. That's the full price of all the clothes she unbuttoned.
If you have tapes for our Caught on Tape segments, send them to Caught on Tape, Paramount Pictures, 5555 Melrose Avenue, Studios E&G, Hollywood, California, or call Dan Hanks at area code 213-956-1759. Caught on tape cannot pay for the videotapes. However, appropriate credit will be given to those who provide tapes, and original tapes will be returned after dubbing. If tapes cannot be released due to chain of evidence requirements, we can arrange to have the tapes dubbed at your location under police supervision. Caught on tape will always protect the identities of undercover personnel and innocent bystanders. If you have outstanding cases which you would like to profile on Caught on Tape in an effort to apprehend suspects, we will be happy to profile those cases where appropriate.
It's rare that we get to see firsthand the nature of some of the boys in blue charged with protecting our society. While the Los Angeles Rodney King tape paints a poor image of some, there are other videotapes that tell a far different story. And the tape was rolling the night Officer Jim Dempsey of the Wilton, Connecticut Police Force showed us a textbook example of a good cop at work. Doug Bruckner reports.
Down! Terry's got a gun on his seat. Get down.
It began as a moment of sheer terror, and it ended with a display of incredible heroism and compassion.
Come on, hang in there, buddy. Hang in there.
This is the story of a night in the life of a good cop, a night that was caught on tape.
Hang in there.
It's 1:45 in the morning. Officer Jim Dempsey is on patrol, cruising the quiet streets of suburban Wilton, Connecticut. He spots a car with a broken headlight that's weaving along the road. Officer Dempsey hits his flashing lights.
I pulled him over, and I expected to see an intoxicated person just lean back and that smile they usually have.
Despite his many years of experience, Officer Dempsey isn't prepared for what he's about to see as he approaches the car.
How you doing?
Holy shit. Initially, when I saw this individual, I thought he was throwing up. I glanced down and I saw a gun with the butt by his thigh and the barrel pointing into the car. I saw a baseball bat and a boot knife in the visor. And that's when I had realized that he had shot himself.
The camera in Officer Dempsey's patrol car records the horror on the officer's face when he sees the gun. He's seen other cops lose their lives in situations just like this. Officer Dempsey ducks for cover and then warns his partner.
Terry's got a gun on his seat. Get down.
My first reaction was to back off so that I could assess the situation and let Terry know what was going on, and also make sure that Terry was in a safe position.
Officer Dempsey tries to call for help. What a time for his portable radio to go out.
12 headquarters. 12 headquarters. Damn.
He retreats to his patrol car to call for an ambulance.
Try 12 to headquarters. This operator's just shot himself with a .45. Get me an ambulance and a supervisor down here now.
Then Officer Dempsey makes a gut-level decision. It's a decision that only a man of tremendous courage could make. He decides to face the danger head-on. He decides to go after the suspect's gun.
I had to get the gun out. I couldn't leave him in there with the gun, and that's when I made an advancement back towards the car.
He's moving around. He's got blood dripping. There's a .45 in his crotch.
With his partner in position to cover him, Officer Dempsey approaches with extreme caution.
Put your hands out the window.
He doesn't know if the man in the car might shoot him, but the officer makes a daring move. He reaches inside the car to get the gun.
And I took the weapon, brought it behind the car, cleared it, and locked it open.
Gun secure.
It's at this critical moment that Officer Jim Dempsey goes from being a cop ready to fight for his life, a cop concerned about the safety of his partner, to an officer filled with compassion for a man who lay bleeding inside the car.
Hey, buddy. How you doing, buddy?
I was kind of upset. It wasn't what I originally thought the staff would be. But then on the other hand, too, that I didn't want this guy to die. Because no matter what, we're still human beings. And if you don't have compassion for another human being, then I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing.
Okay, what's your name? Hey. Hey. Can you hear me? What's your name? All right, don't talk, don't talk.
And I knew the ambulance was coming, so I just tried to get him to hold on and see if I could get him talking, see if he was conscious. And he was kind of conscious. I mean, he was making noises.
Come on. Come on, hang in there, buddy. Hang in there. Hang in there.
I wanted him to live. You don't want to give up. You want to keep going, no matter, even if the best you can do at that time is to talk to the person and make him aware that somebody else is there with him.
Okay, okay.
And I just kept him there, and I tried to comfort him the best I could. Also, he kept trying to put his arm up under his shirt into his left armpit, and at that time I started thinking he might have another weapon.
I know he's trying to move his hands. I can't see what he's got in here.
So I was starting to think that maybe he's trying to go for another weapon, or maybe he's just in pain, and I took my arm or my hand and just locked his hand under his arm and just held him so he couldn't move, and it stopped his movements. And then I just tried to comfort him until the ambulance got there.
All right, just lay back. Lay back. Lay back. Lay back, the ambulance is here. Come on, let's go.
And now, this good cop has more to worry about. It's not just the man inside the car, but the paramedics.
Everybody get gloves. Get gloves.
Even as more help arrives, Officer Dempsey remains in control of saving this life.
Give me some flashlights. All right. Okay. Tell the FD to get some lights out here.
While the paramedics work frantically to save the man's life, Officer Dempsey finally has time to think about what's just happened. Was the man trying to kill himself, or was Officer Dempsey his intended target?
Well, I'm positive that the shooting was an accident. I don't think the outcome was what that young man had planned.
Despite the possibility that the driver had tried to shoot Officer Dempsey, this good cop doesn't give up trying to save his life. He urges the paramedics to work faster.
Come on, get going! Get going!
As the ambulance pulls away, Officer Dempsey thinks about what he'll tell his family.
See, he didn't just hurt himself. I mean, he involved me. He involved my wife. He involved my children. I mean, to my sons, the first day, to my two older boys, that was a traumatic thing for them. For my wife, it was very traumatic.
Later, Officer Dempsey hears the news that makes him proud to be a cop. He gets word that the man in the car would live.
I love my job. This is the best job in the world.
Officer Dempsey's quick action, his coolness under pressure, and his compassion for a fellow human being had saved the man's life.
I'd be very proud if my children were police officers.
Tonight, an amazing year-long undercover job by two cops that netted $7 million, consumed their lives, caused divorce, and sent hundreds of criminals to jail, all caught on tape. Doug Bruckner has this incredible story.
Cars and guns are what we do the most of. Yeah.
They call it a sting. Police posing as crooks in order to catch the real crooks.
Usually what I do is I give you about 20 to 25 cents on a dollar.
The cops set themselves up in a storefront office. Then they put the word on the street that they're in business to buy stolen goods. It's called a fencing operation. And when the crooks show up to unload their stolen merchandise, the cops are waiting. And so is the video camera. They may not look like Newman and Redford, but these two guys from Oxnard, California are just as clever. Detectives John Gomez and Ken Dillinger ran the most unusual and most successful police sting operation ever. But what made this sting operation different from all the rest was that instead of sitting in a storefront waiting for the crooks to come to them, they hit the streets and took their sting right to the bad guys. Detective Dillinger grew a beard as part of his disguise. He called himself the Farmer. His partner was Teddy Bear.
We carried several $1,000s on us at all times, and we flashed it. We wanted them to know that we were in business to buy their stolen property if they had access to it.
The cops bought an old van, rigged it with hidden cameras, and hit the road. They bought drugs. They bought stolen cars.
You take a check? Yeah. Put a check, man.
They bought CB radios.
Breaker. Police coming, and hear the damn police. Can hear the police when they come.
They bought guns, stolen credit cards, even a wallet belonging to another cop.
Oh, yeah. All right. I always wanted a little bad. We got it.
They bought stolen car stereos, food stamps, and fancy electronics, taping every transaction from inside their van.
There's a watch, there's a calculator, and it keeps down your numbers. Phone number? Yeah, phone numbers. Just dial either button, but you have to program it. It's nice, man.
The cops found that even among thieves, the deal's the thing. When someone tried to sell Teddy Bear 9 pairs of socks he had just shoplifted, they began a negotiation that makes buying a new car look easy.
How much you want from? $2 a piece? That's a little juicy. I'll buy take $10. No? I sell it pretty easy. You'll take 15, huh? No. You almost won half. That's a little too much, you know. You're not going to get more than that for that. You know that. I'm going to pay you a little bit more than what it's probably worth, but maybe you'll bring me some more business, so. Okay, then.
All that for 9 pairs of socks. For a year, Teddy Bear and Farmer lived the lives of criminals.
We had to isolate ourselves from the department completely for a year. We had to think to protect ourselves, not only ourselves, but our family and our friends, so we couldn't associate with them.
For Farmer, being away from his family really took its toll. He says the operation became such a strain on his marriage that he and his wife were forced to get a divorce.
My problem was unique because my wife was a dispatcher at the police department. So if they saw me with her and recognized her, then that was a problem.
In a year, they made over 225 transactions. With a budget of only $40,000, they bought $7 million in stolen goods.
I'll give you $100.50 on one condition. You throw in the jacket.
Oh, come on. Serious. I'm throwing the box up. I'm cold.
And when it was time to shut down the operation, they went back and arrested every crook they'd done business with.
Bring it to me, Roger.
With hundreds of hours of videotape as evidence, a lot of criminals would go directly to jail. Teddy Bear and Farmer would go back to leading the dangerous everyday lives of police officers, waiting for a chance to do it all again, to catch the crooks in a sting, even the ones that spot the camera.
Oh, yeah. Wave at it. Yeah, we're a cop. Oh, yeah, sure.
That's dedication.
This is no accident. Neither is this, or this. These are deliberate car crashes, staged collisions to collect thousands of dollars illegally from insurance companies. Scams costing honest drivers billions in higher insurance premiums. Rip-offs that keep growing. It's one of the favorite scams, the swoop and squat. This training film by the California Fraud Bureau has actors showing how it's done. You're driving, a car comes out of nowhere and swoops ahead of the car in front. You hit your brakes, but it's too late. Everyone in the car in front of you gets out holding their back or neck. The injuries are fake, but the scam artists will sue for tens of thousands of dollars, and they'll probably get away with it.
It's easy money, and there's not a lot of us investigating it, so a lot of these people that are out there committing this type of crime know that they can get away with it.
But now police are cracking down, especially in Southern California, where insurance fraud has become rampant. They're catching the crooks, and they're catching them on tape.
This is undercover videotape shot by the California Fraud Bureau. 2 cars, 2 drivers, staging a phony auto accident in broad daylight. Now get a load of this. The damage isn't quite bad enough, so they do it again. Later, the suspects will be arrested and the videotape used as evidence against them. Hold on for this one. 2 cars slammed together at a quiet suburban intersection on a rainy night. It could happen anywhere, but take a closer look. Some of the people getting out of that car are actually undercover cops. They've infiltrated what they call a staged accident ring. After the crash, they bust the alleged ringleader and 6 others. This tape will be used against them in court.
There are hundreds of stagers and crashers on the streets performing this type of crime. One stager just doing 1 accident a day, 5 days a week, taking weekends off, he's making $400,000 a month.
The scam artists involved in these bang-ups usually don't get hurt, but there was the crash that launched the biggest crackdown yet on fraud, a staged accident that police say turned to murder. It happened at rush hour on Interstate 5 in Los Angeles. Police say 3 men were trying to stage the old swoop and squat. They swooped in front of a truck carrying new cars to the showroom. The 18-wheeler jackknifed and turned over right on top of the car the alleged scam artists were driving. When rescue workers arrived on the scene, they found the men trapped inside their crushed Pontiac Firebird. It would be a race against time to get them out alive. After peeling away the car's roof, paramedics finally reached the victims. Their injuries are very serious. 2 of the men are rushed to the hospital, but the 3rd man wouldn't make it. He dies before rescuers can get to him. When police begin looking into the accident, they find it has all the earmarks of insurance fraud. Inside one of the victim's pockets, investigators say they find a business card, a card that leads them to this man, a Beverly Hills attorney named Gary Miller. Police say he's the mastermind behind one of the biggest insurance fraud operations in California, and police say he's the man behind the phony accident that turned deadly on Interstate 5. Now he awaits trial for murder.
You want it to look like it's stolen? Yeah, it's just stolen.
In Redondo Beach, California, undercover cops set up a sting to catch other scam artists. And they found that insurance fraud doesn't just involve cars. Inside this van, a man is trying to arrange for someone to steal his boat.
The boat is just killing me. I haven't paid my mortgage last month, and it's sucking me dry.
The next day, the suspect meets a man who says he can take care of his problem. But the suspect doesn't know the man he's hiring is really an undercover cop, and that everything he says is being caught on tape.
You want it to look like somebody stole it and then sunk it, you know, that's fine. I can do that.
A few days later, the boat does disappear. It's taken by cops to a police dock to be held as evidence, and the man who tried to hire the cops to sink it is arrested. He was caught on tape.
You're not a policeman, are you? No, I'm not a cop.
If you have tapes for our Caught on Tape segments, send them to Caught on Tape, Paramount Pictures, 5555 Melrose Avenue, Studios E&G, Hollywood, California, or call Dan Hanks at area code 213-956-1759.
It seemed like the perfect evening. Her date sent a stretch limo with flowers. They dined and danced on a luxury dinner cruise. 3 small problems. He was married 12 years. He had to borrow the money. And, oh yeah, their entire evening was caught on tape. Doug Bruckner reports.
Here they come.
Lesson number 1, don't take out a loan to go on a date you shouldn't be on. Lesson number 2, don't take your girlfriend dancing if you won't dance with your wife. Lesson number 3, don't spend too much time in plain sight if you don't want to be seen. And number 4, if you're a married man, never take out your mistress on her birthday.
These are just a few of the lessons taught the hard way by a new breed of old-time private eyes working the oldest game in town, infidelity. The days of hiding in the bushes have given way to a new high-tech surveillance that gets far beyond closed doors. But somehow, they always wind up out in the open, arm in arm, in the daylight.
Get down, he's cooking.
Petty in the sunlight.
Yeah, wait, you're gonna get it better from this side.
Dancing in the moonlight. Jerry Pellis and his partner Tim Bartlett see it every day. They run a serious little business with the whimsical name Checkmate, and they'll never forget the day the raven-haired beauty walked through their door.
She felt her husband was fooling around. This was early in the summer. She confronted him and he confessed. He was having an affair. And they're gonna reconciliate and they'll live happily ever after. And all of a sudden he's beginning to work late again. He's not showing up. And she goes, I know it, I just know it. And he told her, like, you know, you gotta trust me. It's in your head. I'm not doing nothing, it's all in your mind.
But once was enough for this mother of two. That's why she was waving divorce papers around. The Seamuses reminded her she'd probably learned the worst. Then they did their best to find it for her.
We made a few inquiries and we found out who the girlfriend was. We found out when her birthday was.
Now this husband should have known better. He's an actual police detective. But the private eyes found out he'd made reservations for his mistress's birthday party and that he'd scraped up a few dollars to pay for it.
He had taken out a $7,000 loan his wife knew nothing about.
This was going to be some birthday. All the private eyes had to do was wait for it to roll around.
Here they come.
On the big day, the detectives headed to the woman's house on Manhattan's swank east side. They set up a video camera and stocked up on donuts and coffee. They didn't have to wait long.
A limousine pulls up. The driver gets out carrying balloons and flowers and goes inside, and about 10 minutes later the girl comes out dressed to kill. Now the chauffeur has escorted the female out of the car, out of the house, and they enter the limo. And you see she's all dressed up and ready for a night in the town.
Then it was time to tail the limo, not to some no-tell motel, but to a pricey cruise ship. After all, this was a $7 grand night on the town.
Well, we followed the car down to the World Yacht, and we had a couple, undercover couple, go on the yacht with them. They went out, they had their dinner, they came back, they filmed them on the yacht.
Somewhere beyond the sea.
And for a few hours, it was paradise. Flowers, balloons, dinner, fine wines, and cheek-to-cheek dancing, with a video camera recording every smooch.
Oh, they're dancing, they had their dinner, they're up dancing. There's parts here where you can see them kissing, and one party's actually licking her face. And they danced the whole night away.
But then it was time to leave, to get back into the limo and head off to who knows where. After all, it was only a little after 10, and he had invested $7,000 in the evening. But when this swinging couple came down the gangplank, they didn't know his wife was waiting, cooling her high heels back on the dock.
And as he come off, we were waiting there with a camera and his wife. And she walked right over to him, confronted him as he get into his car. And it was a big surprise to him. And she just handed him divorce papers not to come home. He was a cool character. He was one of the, you see the look on his face, the eyes, and he just went right into gear. I mean, automatically he just went right in. Oh, hi, what are you doing here? Like not even his wife. Like, he didn't want to give the appearance to his girlfriend that this was his wife. There's somebody that he knew.
But the jig was up.
It was good. The guy was cool, but you could see on his look on his face that when she handed him the papers, that it was over with. His act was up. And the girlfriend's standing there smiling, not knowing what's going on at all, until the wife yells over, well, if now you want him, you've won. He's yours.
For the two gumshoes, it was just another case, but they had to crack a smile, because for this police detective husband, this night would cost a lot more than $7,000. He can expect to keep paying as long as there's a thing called alimony. As for the betrayed wife, she didn't get really mad till she got a look at that tape and saw her husband slow dancing, because in their 12 years of marriage, her about-to-be ex-husband would never dance with her.
Whenever they go to parties and stuff, he'd be a wallflower, just sit there, and she had to beg him to get up to dance with her. And here, he never sat down.
Welcome to the Great Party Sting, a 3-day bash where hundreds of the most wanted men and women in town are invited to a party. But the hosts of the party are cops, and when their guests show up, they slap the handcuffs on them.
Hey, April Fool!
Here's how the sting works. You get a letter in the mail. Congratulations, you've been selected to help test brand new lottery games. You could win $1 million. Just come down to lottery headquarters to claim your prize.
I can tell us the winner right off.
I hope so.
When you show up, the place looks legit, but what you don't know is that the police did all the decorating.
You ready to play the lottery, Ricardo?
You check in at the reception desk, but what you don't know is the women checking your ID are really cops. They want to make sure you're the one they're after.
Here to pass to the game room.
Your excitement builds. You can see other people who appear to have already won. But what you don't know is that they're cops too. They're there to make it look good, and then you're given the big news. You've won.
Good luck playing the game, Mr. Hernandez.
It's time to go for the big spin. Your chance at $1 million.
Well, feeling lucky?
Your heart's pounding as you walk through that door. This could be your ticket to Easy Street.
Okay, Mr. Hernandez, this way. Another winner, Mr. Hernandez.
Instead, it's a one-way ticket to jail. The cops in Hawthorne, California thought up this scam to reel in fugitives. They've been having these parties for 5 years now.
Just the age-old adage, you know, there's a fool born every moment or minute, and people will they'll block out all aspects of reality and lose their inhibitions or suspicions when they think they've won something or going to get something for free.
What you're looking at is the Hawthorne Police Department's own videotape of their very first party sting, the one that started it all.
I see him, he's a winner.
And what a party it was. There was food, dancing, live entertainment, and everybody posed for pictures.
Smile, guys.
At times it turned into a carnival atmosphere. I mean, just everybody excited. It's almost like, you know, being the big winner on the game show.
One after another, Hawthorne's Most Wanted came to the party. Even the cops were surprised by how many showed up. And every guest had at least one outstanding arrest warrant, from drunk driving to drug dealing to robbing, and there was even a murderer.
We actually picked up one of LA County's top 10 wanted fugitives in this.
This guy came to the party in his Rolls Royce. When police slapped the cuffs on him, he tried to convince them they had the wrong man.
Most people, once they were arrested, absolutely claimed it wasn't them, but he was the right guy. His car was stored, and both went to jail, car jail, and him on his warrant.
During the 3-day bash, police rounded up 88 fugitives, and they never once had to leave the building. But the best part is that no one gets hurt, and just like any good party, everyone has a good time.
That's what I like, a man with a sense of humor.
If you have tapes for our Caught on Tape segments, send them to Caught on Tape, Paramount Pictures, 5555 Melrose Avenue, Studios E&G, Hollywood, California, or call Dan Hanks at area code 213-956-1759.